I've been seeing a lot of channels pop up talking about how to gorilla, or why your life would suck as various animals, all with the exact same thumbnail. And I noticed that most of these videos had a negative tone to them and explained why being the animal in the title of the video would be a bad thing. So today, I wanted to talk to you about the best animal of all time, the honeybee, in a video that I made with the exact same thumbnail as the other ones. Every honeybee's life begins in a tiny hexagonal nursery known as a cell. This is where the queen bee will lay an egg. This egg hatches into a larva, a tiny, wriggly blob that has no idea of what it is destined for. For the first few days, this larva gets fed royal jelly, a substance that is so nutritious it might as well be the bee equivalent of kale smoothies and protein shakes. If the larva is extra lucky and keeps getting fed the royal jelly, it will grow up to become a queen. Talk about being born into privilege. For most larvae, however, the royal jelly buffet ends quickly. Worker bees start feeding them a more pedestrian diet of pollen and nectar, essentially saying, "Welcome to the middle class." These larvae then pupate, spinning themselves into cocoons where the magic of metamorphosis happens. After about 21 days, a fully formed bee emerges, ready to either rule the hive, work tirelessly, or, if a male, lays around until it is called upon for a brief and fatal mating mission. But I'm getting ahead of myself, and I didn't even say spoiler warning. Let's take a closer look into these three distinct roles, starting with Her Highness, the queen bee. Without the queen bee, the whole operation would collapse faster than a poorly made souffle. The queen's job primarily is laying eggs, up to 2,000 a day. While she doesn't punch a time clock, she does keep the hive running smoothly with her pheromones, a sort of scent that she gives off that gives instructions to the hive on what to do and how things are going. Pheromones are basically just bee Wi-Fi. The queen's life isn't all royal jelly and sunshine. Becoming a queen is a cutthroat business. In order to be prepared if something unexpected were to happen to the queen, the hive is in a constant state of having a few queen buns in the oven, or larvae in the cells, I guess is what I mean. Multiple larvae are fed royal jelly and raised as potential candidates. Once they emerge, it's battle royale. Between laying her eggs, the current reigning queen will spend her free time killing these new queens on the block to assure that she will maintain her role without issue. Not exactly democracy. This way of operating is advantageous to the hive because in the event that the queen dies or is too old to win the fight, they don't need to wait for the full 21 days for a larvae to emerge as a new queen. They have a fully baked queen fresh out of the oven and ready to keep things running smoothly immediately. Let's talk about the queen's romantic endeavors. Once in her life, the queen embarks on a flight out of the hive that can only be described as every dad's worst nightmare as his daughter leaves for high school prom. The queen is pursued by a squadron of eager drones from other hives, all vying for a chance to mate. On this single flight, a typical queen bee will mate with anywhere between 10 and 20 drones. Once complete, the queen returns to the hive, storing enough sperm to lay eggs for the rest of her life, which can be up to 5 years. Efficiency at its finest. The queen's reign typically lasts a few years, during which she is the undisputed leader. However, if she starts slacking, laying fewer eggs, or producing weaker pheromones, the worker bees may stage a coup. They'll have a new queen ready, and the old one will be retired. It's a tough gig, but hey, that's the life of the hive. If the queen is the hive's monarch, and the workers are its tireless labor force, then drones are kind of like your college roommate. These male bees are pretty much worthless and have only one job in the entire world, and that is to mate with a queen. That's it. No gathering nectar, no building comb, no defending the hive. Their entire existence revolves around waiting for a chance to pass on their genes. You might think that sounds like the ultimate freeloading gig, but before you start envying their lifestyle, let's unpack the details. First, drones don't even have stingers, which means they can't defend themselves or the hive. Their lack of survival skills makes them entirely dependent on the worker bees, who feed them and care for them until mating season. When the time comes, drones join a congregation of other hopefuls, a sausage party that is officially known as a drone congregation area. This is where the magic and tragedy happens. The queen flies into the congregation, and the fastest, fittest drones get the honor of mating with her. Unfortunately for the drones, this honor is also their swan song. The act of mating is so intense that it literally causes the drone's abdomen to rupture, and he falls to his death. It's a lot like speed dating, but everyone you try to connect with dies. So while drones may not win any awards for productivity or longevity, their brief moment of glory ensures the survival of the hive. It's not a glamorous life, but somebody's got to do it. Worker bees are 90% of the workforce and the ones that do the work, which seems a lot more obvious when I say it out loud. If the queen is royalty and the drones are expendable bachelors, then worker bees are the unsung heroes of the hive. These are all females who literally do everything to keep the hive running smoothly. From the moment they emerge from their cells, worker bees embark on a whirlwind career path that makes even the busiest humans look like slackers. In the first few days of life, worker bees take on the role of nursemaids. They tend to the larvae, feeding them a steady diet of royal jelly, nectar, or pollen, depending on their future role. Once they've mastered childcare, worker bees graduate to housekeeping. They clean out empty cells to prepare them for the queen's next round of egg laying. This stage of their life is essentially a crash course in sanitation, as they diligently scrub every nook and cranny of the hive. Next, they take on construction duties. Using wax secreted from glands in their abdomens, worker bees build and repair the honeycomb. The hexagonal cells are not only visually stunning, but are also incredibly efficient, maximizing storage space while minimizing material used. Frank Lloyd Wright could never. As if this weren't enough, worker bees also moonlight as security guards. Stationed at the hive's entrance, they fend off intruders like wasps and other honey-thieving creatures. Armed with stingers and a selfless sense of duty, these bees will lay down their lives to protect the hive. But wait, there's more. In their final stage of life, worker bees become foragers. They venture into the world, braving wind, rain, and the occasional hungry bird to collect nectar and pollen. These intrepid adventurers can visit hundreds of flowers in a single day, bringing back the raw materials needed to produce honey and sustain the colony. And they do this all while carrying loads equivalent to their own body weight. Move over, Olympic weightlifters. A single bee can make about 1/12 of a teaspoon of honey in its lifetime. Bees need to visit about 2 million flowers to make about a pound of honey. Not exactly Costco efficiency, but we'll take it. Worker bees only live about 6 weeks during the busy season. Their bodies literally wear out from sheer overuse. By the end of their lives, their wings are frayed, their strength depleted, but their contributions to the hive are immeasurable. In short, worker bees are the backbone of the hive, juggling a dozen roles in their short lives without so much as a coffee break. They're proof that sometimes the hardest workers don't get the glory, but they do get the job done. Now let's shift gears a little bit from the individual types of bees and their roles and talk about the dynamic of the hive as a whole. Much like humans who swap out flip-flops for snow boots as the year progresses, honeybee hives go through distinct seasonal phases. Let's take a closer look into how the hive thrives or just barely survives through the changing season. Spring is when the hive wakes up from its winter slumber and collectively says, "All right, people, let's make some honey." The queen kicks it into high gear, laying thousands of eggs to rebuild the population. Worker bees get busy collecting nectar and pollen on the season's floral buffet. This is also the prime time for swarming, a natural process where the old queen and about half of the hive's population pack their bags and leave to start a new colony. Swarming may sound chaotic, but it's actually an impressive display of planning. Scouts venture out and find the perfect real estate, usually a hollow tree or an abandoned attic, and report back with their findings. It's like Zillow for bees, but with a lot more buzzing. Glad to know that bees are not the only species that get angry every so often and threaten to leave half their families to start fresh somewhere else. Summer is all about stockpiling. The hive turns out wax, builds comb, and fills it with honey and pollen reserves. Worker bees are literally working themselves to death, with foragers flying as far as 5 miles to find the best nectar. The hive is a well-oiled machine, running at peak efficiency. It's nature's version of the corporate grind, complete with endless overtime and 0 weekends off. As temperature drops down and flowers dwindle, the hive shifts into conservation mode as fall arrives. The queen lays fewer eggs, and the workers focus on sealing up the hive to keep out drafts. This is also the time when the drones get the boot. That's right, since they don't contribute to winter survival, the worker bees evict them out in a ruthless cost-saving measure. It's like corporate downsizing, but instead of a pink slip, all of the drones get starvation and hypothermia. It's harsh, but it's effective. Winter is when the hive hunkers down and huddles together for warmth. Literally. The bees form a tight cluster around the queen, vibrating their flight muscles to generate heat. The center of the cluster stays a toasty 90 degrees Fahrenheit, while the outer layers are more like an unheated garage in February. The bees take turns rotating through the cluster, ensuring that everybody gets a chance to get warm. During this time, the hive relies entirely on the honey and pollen reserves collected during the summer. It's a delicate balancing act, Run out of food, and the colony starves. Eat too little, and they'll freeze. Worker bees take on the role of energy accountants, carefully rationing the hive supplies to make sure it makes it through to spring. Like a bee version of a Snowden family, but without the board games. By the time the first flowers bloom, the hive is ready to start the cycle all over again. The workers emerge from their winter cluster, stretch their wings, and dive straight into business of rebuilding the colony. No vacations, no downtime, just an endless cycle of buzzing and bustling. And you thought your 9 to 5 was exhausting. I could easily talk for 8 more hours about honeybees, but this video is long enough, and this is as good of a spot as any to end it. If you're interested in hearing more about this topic or another topic, just put it in the comments and I might make a part 2. Make sure to give this video a like and subscribe if you have not already. It helps me out a lot and it's free to you. Anyway, thanks for watching.